So this is what I gotta do sometimes to get you guys a good light. Not really the safest thing, but I guess if the light falls, the light breaks, and I gotta buy a new one.
Hey everybody, this is Jeremiah Reed Racing. In the video today, we are going to take the side-by-dry out of the garage, put the Catapult in the garage. I didn't get any video of switching them around because it was pretty dark out when I did it. But then we're also going to go over kind of some of the updates that we did on the car, and then we're going to install a few things. I've got a couple tabs on for the window net that I move and weld on, so make sure to follow along for that. And then if you want to learn about how I set up my shifter and throttle pedal, stuff like that, make sure to watch all the way to the end. But with that, we'll get started with the video.
So it was too dark to get video of switching the cars around, but the side biter is out of the garage. It's in the toter. We're gonna take that to our other building. We got the Catapult in the garage, and I just wanted to show you guys a couple things before we get started working on it. First thing, I had a buddy of mine. He did most of the work, but helped me update the front end on it. Did it ourselves in his garage. So we got both sides of the front end updated. Another thing he added in for me was this drag bar, what I call a drag bar. You see it a lot on the new chassis, and the main purpose of it is to help keep the cage from collapsing over the driver's head. Just an extra support basically to help prevent that from happening. He also welded in this shock mount for me, and then replaced this square tubing here, the one that was on the car. It had been damaged before, and the piece that had been welded in wasn't quite square, wasn't quite how we wanted it to be welded in, so we replaced that, or he replaced that. I keep saying we, but it was actually him doing most of the work. I helped a little bit, but so he replaced that for me. One other thing that I have yet to do, I still need to do, is this tab here and this tab here for the window net. They're both on the outside right now. I need to put them on the inside of the roll cage. The reason for that is I had actually the guy that worked on the car, his son rolled his car, and when that happened, it smashed the tabs on the for the window net, so that they couldn't get the window net down after he had rolled. So I'm going to move those to the inside to prevent that from happening. If your guys' tabs are on the outside of your car, I'd highly recommend putting them on the inside for that reason. Now that we got them switched around, let's start putting this one together. So the first thing we're going to do is get this thing up on jack stands. So the first thing we're going to do today is to cut these tabs off so I can weld them on the inside for the window net. go. Move to the inside. It's not my best weld job ever, but we got those tabs moved. Both those spots. Got it painted all up. Can't even barely tell where they used to be, unless you look real close, but there we go. Now we're ready to start assembling. I believe all the welding is done, so let's get started with that. So this is what I gotta do sometimes to get you guys a good light. Not really the safest thing, but I guess if the light falls, the light breaks, and I gotta buy a new one. Obviously I still need to clean out the floor in this thing, but we're gonna put the shifter in. So I would like to put it in this way just so the shifters are farther from me, and that way I have less risk of hitting them with my arm or hand or leg or anything and shifting on accident. But I can't do that because this shifter likely is gonna hit, or I'm gonna smash my hand every time I go to move it. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to turn it around and have them towards me since they're offset. I gotta grab 4 1/4-inch bolts. They're gonna go 2 here and 2 here. Just put that in. And now the way this is gonna work is our transmissions are 3 speeds plus a reverse. So how it works, how I set it up, so that way it's easy to remember. Right stick, I go forward for first gear, forward gear, and I go back for reverse or reverse gear. So forward for forward, reverse for reverse. And then the other stick, so I'll go out on the track, you know, I'll put it in reverse, back out of my spot, and then to go out on the track, I put it in first, get up to speed, I'll pull that one back to the neutral position, and then I'll go forward for second, get up to speed on that gear, push the clutch in, and then I'll pull it back and leave it in third. Now in order to go back down to first or reverse, I have to put this one back into the neutral position, and then I can shift this one. You can't move this linkage, or you can't move this shifter. You're not supposed to be able to anyway. If you get it stuck in 2 gears, then you have an issue. I've had it happen once and it took about 10 minutes to get it back out. If you have this one in any position, you can't move this one, or you're not supposed to be able to. If you have it back here, you still can't move it. Have it forward, you can't move it. Same with this one. If this one's forward or backward, this one should not be able to move. So, but it's first, reverse, second, third. And then both of them in the center is neutral. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna put the steering box and then the steering shaft in. But before we do that, I wanna put this roller pedal in, so that way the steering column and stuff is not in the way when we go to put this in. So we're gonna put this in first and then go from there. Okay, so we got that in. So on this roller pedal, it's got this plate and it's got it at an angle. The reason for that, if you look at from the front of the car, that panel goes at an angle. So when you're putting this in, you got the pedal sitting like this, right about like that. You want this to basically compensate for that panel being at an angle like that. That way it straightens the pedal with the seat. First thing we gotta do is take this pedal off of here, so we gotta slide it off. Just hang that there for now. We're gonna have to put this through. We're actually gonna flip this plate around. You don't have to, but I put different length bolts in, since it's got to go through more of the plate here and less here. That way they all have a decent amount of thread sticking out. So we're gonna stick that. Went and turned the light on so you could actually see what was going on. Alright, so should grab the wrench while I was out. So still got to tighten those bolts down, but we're going to put this back on. We're We're gonna want it probably about like that. Now, you can always adjust it later. You can adjust the pedal, you know, if you want it to sit out farther here, you can adjust it that way. It's probably about where we'll want it. So we'll go ahead and tighten that down for now. Now, obviously, if you want the pedal a little closer to you, you can always change the angle, and that'll bring it out towards the driver some. Or if you want it farther away, bring it back some. But you also have to be careful not to put too much angle in it. So that's on tight. Now we just got to tighten these bolts, tighten it down. How this works, so you push the throttle, it pushes it towards the floorboard or towards the firewall, and as that gets pushed that way, it rotates this back this way, and this has a linkage that runs up to the carburetor. So as you push the throttle pedal, it pulls the carburetor, and then it's got a return spring on the carburetor to pull it back when you let off. So here's the carburetor, and it's going to sit on the car like that. So you can imagine as this rotates back, what it's doing is it's pulling this, and what actually happens if you look down in there, it'll open those butterfly valves, and because the engine has a vacuum to it, it'll suck the air and fuel down into the carburetor or into the intake, and then it sucks it from there down into the cylinders to ignite it. But all that does is pull that back, and that squirts. Not only does it open those butterfly valves, but it squirts fuel out of these two here right into the Venturi. So there's one thing off the list.
So if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and make sure to check out the next video where we install the steering box, collapsible steering shaft, run through the front end a little bit, and go through step by step on how to install the hubs and rotors on the front end. Make sure to grease everything, and then in the video after that we'll probably run through, put new seals and everything in the rear end, and then installing that in the car. Also, make sure to subscribe if you want to check out our next video for the new and inexperienced drivers, part 2 of that series. And make sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, check out our partner links all in the description below, and we'll see you in the next video.